All right, so please give your attention.
Thank you, Kurt. All right, good morning to everyone. I'm gonna stand, not sit. Since two people have mentioned to me about the Chinese character for boat, and maybe you haven't seen it before. It's not on this presentation. I have a presentation that it has it on there, but I don't have it on this one because this is just a recent report that I've done. And so in the Chinese language, the character for boat is made up of 3 different characters. This is the word for vessel. This is the number 8, and this is one of the words for people. And so when you put these 3 together, it would look like this. Sorry, the ink's not too good on this. When you put them together like this, those 3 characters, that's the word for boat. Now, isn't it interesting that the word for boat in the Chinese language is made up of 3 characters, which means a vessel with 8 people. And when you think of a vessel with 8 people, what do you think about? Car. Think about Noah and the ark, don't you? And so isn't it interesting that in the Chinese language, you have that connection? Now, I believe that there are some similar connections to that when you are looking in the first 11 chapters of Genesis. But after that, you've got the Tower of Babel when the languages all changed and they all went different directions. And so anyway, there's a couple books that have been written on that subject that are also available. Let me get started here. Oh, I should point this way maybe, huh?
Oh, I think you're going backwards.
Oh, I'm going backwards. Oh, the bottom arrow, huh?
Yes.
Oh, the bottom arrow. Yeah, I thought it'd be the top arrow. Okay. By the way, Howard Chung just came in. I saw Howard last night. He was preaching in Taiwan via Line, which is a online platform. I preach the first Sunday of every month. So next Sunday, I'll be preaching there in Taichung. I lived in Taichung for 10 years as a missionary. Kurt mentioned about University Hills. I met Howard there one time, and maybe others. The first time I came to Pflugerville, you were meeting in a school building. Now, I don't remember what year that was, but you probably do. And it's so good to be in this building. You have a beautiful building. It looks very functional.
A lot of work.
A lot of work, I'm sure. And so we're thankful to be able to be here today and to bring you up to date on our work. Now, as you saw in the biographical sketch, I'm in my 43rd year of working among the Chinese people. And in 1982, I went to Taiwan. I began studying the Chinese language, the way to speak it, actually the Mandarin we're talking about, because Howard, you know, he speaks Cantonese as his first language, but he also speaks Mandarin pretty well. But I learned the Mandarin, how to speak it, how to understand it, how to read it, and how to write it. And so when I do, and I've got an example of that up here in the slides today, you'll be able to see some of the material I prepared. I'm currently teaching at Four Seas College in Singapore in their Chinese department. And we started about 3 years ago teaching people all the curriculum, everything's in Chinese. Four Seas College has been around in English since the 60s, but we've never had a Chinese department. And we've had Chinese people to go through it, but they had to know English in order to do it. So now we're doing the entire curriculum in Mandarin, and we have 7 teachers, 2 from mainland China, 2 from Singapore, 2 from Malaysia, and me. And depending on where I am, whether I'm in the States or Indonesia or Malaysia or Singapore or Taiwan, if it's time for me to teach, I get online and teach my class. And so you'll see some of that today in this report. So this is a mid-year report. This is the church building at Schertz. My work is overseen by the Schertz Church of Christ, and you know, most of you know where that is. Used to have the lectureship every year. It's just north of San Antonio. And so when we're in the States and I'm not visiting somewhere, we're always at Schertz. participating there. When we go back overseas, of course, my wife is Indonesian, and so we have our base in Indonesia. So we go back to Indonesia, and then when we're ready to go somewhere, like we're going to Malaysia in October for a month, we'll just go from Indonesia to Malaysia, short trip. Or in December, I'll be going to Taiwan for 2 weeks there, and we will be going to Taiwan. We'll be going to Malaysia too. And again, it's only a 4-hour flight from Indonesia to Taiwan. So that's a lot better than from here, you know. And so anyway, we spend about half of our time now in Asia and half of our time in America. Here's a map of the area where we work. Of course, you can see this is Southeast Asia. Now I don't know if I mentioned or not, I had it in my mind that last night, right before Howard preached in Taiwan, I was preaching in Melbourne, Australia. Now that was in English, but they had their Bible study and worship at 6:30 p.m. last night, our time. So I taught the Bible class and then the worship at 7:30. And I've done that a few times for the brethren there in Melbourne. I've been there in person, but it's been 12 years since I've been there. And so since COVID, a lot of things have been pushed onto the internet. And so it's been a blessing in some ways because I'm able, no matter where I am, whether I'm in Texas or if I'm in Indonesia, if I'm in Taiwan, wherever I am, then I can still do my teaching regardless of where it is. And when we're overseas, then we tune in to the Shirts Bible class and worship services through Google Meet. So you can see here, this is China. Here's Taiwan, where we lived for 10 years. Here's the Philippines. Here is Vietnam and Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and let's see, Myanmar. Oh, there's Myanmar there. And then you come down here. Here's Malaysia. Down at the tip of that is Singapore. Then all this brown, that's Indonesia. And so we live right over here at the bottom of Sumatra. And so when we go from Sumatra to different countries, we go through Jakarta, which is the capital. It's just a 25-minute flight. And then we go on from there. So that gives you an idea of where we're working. How many of you have been to Asia? Been to Asia, okay. You know, it's a long way, isn't it? It's a long way to get over there. And there's a lot of jet lag involved sometimes. But anyway, this is the area primarily where we're working. I will say this. I got a call from Scott Shanahan. Scott is a missionary in Italy, and he lives in the Naples area. And he wrote me an email recently and said, we've got a lot of Chinese people living in the Naples area, and we've got 6 attending our services, and they don't speak English or Italian. And he said, so we're doing the best we can to reach out to them. He said, would you be interested in coming to Italy and conduct a gospel meeting? So I said, not this year, but next year we're planning to go to Italy to conduct a Chinese gospel meeting and see what we can do among the Chinese. Okay, I'll let you know about it. Yes, I'll let you know, Howard. I've done that in New Zealand. I've gone to New Zealand and I've held Chinese gospel meetings in New Zealand because there are a lot of people from Asia who have immigrated down to Australia and New Zealand. In fact, I asked the brother who was doing the PowerPoint for me in Melbourne last night. I said, how many native members do you have at Church Street in Melbourne? He said, 3 families. All the rest are immigrants from Singapore, Malaysia, and different parts of Asia. So that's a whole nother discussion on another day. Now, here I am on the right. This is in Indonesia, where we live. I'm at my desk. And so from Indonesia, I preach in Taiwan. That's the picture that you see on the left. They broadcast it into the church building. And so first Sunday of every month, I preach there, but I'm there every week. I attend the Bible study and worship every week in the city of Taichung in Taiwan. Also teaching the school in Singapore. I do it here, whether here or where we're living here in Texas, Malaysia, etc., all done via the internet. Here are some of the individuals who attend the services in the church in Taichung in Taiwan. Now you see the people that are here and here, they're actually at the building, and all the rest of us, we're online. And so we're joining the worship service online. And so again, I do that every week to try to be an encouragement to the brethren there in Taichung. In addition to that, I do a lot of English classes online. For example, every Wednesday morning here, Wednesday night in Malaysia, they have a Wednesday night class called In Devo. And you can see the number here, 214. We've been doing it now since COVID began. And I participate in this class, and at least once a month, I present a lesson in this particular class. And we have primarily people from Malaysia who are attending this online class. Now, in addition to the lessons that we do in this class, what I really like is we have the songs of prayer, we have the lesson, and then after the invitation song and the announcements and the closing prayer, then whatever time's left, we have questions and answers. And so people are able to ask questions about the lesson that's been delivered, and we're able to discuss some of those things. So that takes place every week, and that's at the Subang Jaya Church of Christ in the Kuala Lumpur area. Now, my wife and I will be going to Malaysia. We'll be at Subang Jaya on the last Sunday in October on their even months. On the last Sunday of the even months, they have bilingual worship in English and Chinese. So I'll be going there the last Sunday in October, and I'll be presenting lessons both in English and in Chinese at the same time. And it's the same lesson, by the way. I'm not teaching two different lessons wouldn't that be fun? But what I have found for me, when I translate for myself, or even if someone else will translate for me, I do one sentence at a time. So I do a sentence in English, then I do a sentence in Mandarin. Then I do a sentence in English, and then I do a sentence in Mandarin. The reason I do that is so I can keep track of where I am. Sometimes I've heard people speak, and they'll say 4 or 5 or 6 sentences, and then the translator, he can't remember everything that was said by the speaker, so he may miss something. But if you do it one sentence at a time, then that lets them keep up, and it also helps me to keep up if I'm doing my own translating. Okay, so just recently we were in Malaysia from May 31st till June 10th. While we were there, we had the privilege to visit with the brethren in Malacca. Malacca is in south central Malaysia. It's a very famous port city. If you look it up, there's 2 different spellings. This is M-E-L-A-K-A. There is a M-A-L-A-C-C-A, which is the same city. And you can look up the tremendous history that is connected with this city in Malaysia. I was there on Friday night where I taught the English Bible class. Then Sunday morning, I also taught an English Bible class, but then did the sermon bilingual, both in English and Chinese. And so that was the last Sunday in the month of May in Malaysia. Now, in addition to that, we have an annual Chinese Asian Bible lectureship. This year was the 16th annual lectureship, and I've spoken all but 2 of them. I was not able to go to Asia a couple of years in a row, but the rest of them I've had the privilege to be the speaker. And so once again this year, we had that privilege. I mentioned Subang Jaya already. I did English with the English congregation at Subang Jaya. They also have a Chinese congregation in the afternoon. So I spoke in the afternoon, and then in the evening at a different congregation, section 17, they have a Chinese worship. So I went there and preached as well. So when we go to Malaysia in October, I'll be jumping around all these different places, whether it's English or Chinese, participating or attending to be an encouragement to the brethren there. So Ed and I were in Malaysia for this trip, and you know, some of these trips are pretty tough, especially on the wives. And so, but she's able to make it through and help out in every way that she can in the trips that we make. Okay, here is Malacca. This is the hotel we stayed at when we first got there. We went early so that we could be with the brethren in the Malacca Church of Christ. And so we stayed in this hotel. My wife is really good about picking out places to stay overseas. She looks them up online, and the brethren say, we're going to put you up here, and here's the cost of what it's going to be. And my wife's like, I can beat that. And so she'll go online and she'll find a cheaper place and a nicer place. And so we went to this particular hotel, and kind of a unique place called the Hotel Rosa. You can see this is the restaurant. Now, the nice thing about Asian hotels is they don't have a continental breakfast. They have a full breakfast. They have a full breakfast buffet. And the nicer the hotel, the nicer the breakfast. And so you can see here, this is the breakfast that I had, for example, just on an average morning. I had, see watermelon at the top, then there's watermelon juice, water, hot tea, egg, hash browns, chicken sausage, and a croissant. And then there's some roti there. That's the Indian bread. And they make that in Malaysia because there are a lot of Indians that live in Malaysia. So they have the roti that we can eat. So that was a normal breakfast. Now, my breakfast and my wife's breakfast is different because she's Indonesian. So she's going to have noodles, you know, and she's going to have different things like that I normally don't do. I remember I'm a big old radio show fan, and there used to be a radio show called The Bickersons, John and Blanche Bickerson. And they used to argue all the time on the radio. That's why they were called the Bickersons, you know. And they used to argue all the time. And one morning, she fixed him chow mein for breakfast. And he said, chow mein for breakfast? Who eats chow mein for breakfast? And she said, about 400 million Chinese people. And that's true. That's true. So anyway, that was one of our breakfasts. Now, this is a night market where they serve foods in different stalls. And so on Sunday night, after we had finished our day, we came back Sunday night or Monday night, I think it was Sunday night. We came back to this place within walking distance of the hotel where we were staying. And I had satay. Now, satay is my favorite, almost my favorite food overseas. It's meat on a stick, basically. And it's grilled on, it's on a grill. It's not fried or baked. It's grilled. And then the things that you see beside those are rice packets, cooked rice packets. And so that's what I had for my dinner. I believe my wife had noodles. This is a famous area in Malacca called Jonker Street in English. In the Chinese, it says that this is Malacca Chicken Street because they sell a lot of chicken and rice there. And so that is the area where they have a lot of tourists will go. And we went there. Now, right next door to Jonker Street is Hard Rock Cafe. Now, once in a while, we get hungry for American food. And I don't know if you've ever been overseas or not, but if there's a Hard Rock Cafe overseas, it's just like America. The food's just like America. And so once in a while, we go and eat at that place when we're hungry for American food. Now, we had the opportunity to have a meal with one of the families there in Malacca. This is Stephen Liu. Stephen Liu is one of the first people I ever met when I went to Malacca in 1999. He was the first individual to introduce me to satay, the meat on the stick. And so anyway, we went to a place called Nando's, which is a chicken restaurant in Malacca. You see over to the left is his wife, Angeline, and their daughter, and then Etta and I. They've got two sons in the United States. One's at Purdue University, and the other one's at Georgia Tech, getting their degrees in those particular places. But we had a wonderful opportunity to visit with the Liu family. Now, Brother Liu, he went to England to get his degree in actuary. You know, the actuaries are the ones that determine the prices for insurance, depending on how long you live. And so he came back to Malacca, and he runs his father's pawn shop. That's what he does. And he's done that all of his life. You know, sometimes they get their degrees over there and then they never use it for what they were supposed to do. Now, this is in the church building at Malacca. On the left is Friday night. when I was teaching the class, and on the right is Sunday morning worship. So I split the screen there for you to get an idea of speaking there at Malacca. Then these are some of the women that were at worship that day. You know, in May and June, that's a school holiday. So a lot of times there's a lot of people gone traveling, but these are the ones that were still there. And Etta had a picture with them. Then this was the majority of the group that were there, those that were still there when we had the picture taken before we left the building on Sunday morning. This is, you saw a picture of Angelina Liu a minute ago, Angeline Liu. This is her sister right here and her sister's daughter, and this is their mother. And so they're all now in Malacca worshiping together in the congregation. Now, the next thing that we did was the Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship, and it was conducted in Malacca. Now, remember, I read something because over there, when they have an event, whether it's a camp or lectureship, like they have a camp, the camp is conducted at a resort. It's not conducted at a Boy Scout camp where you have the tents or the cabins. It's not like that. It's a resort. And so someone said, I'd like to go to a camp like that. Well, the lectureship, we hold it in Malaysia because the price in Malaysia is 3 to 4 times cheaper than in Singapore. And so brethren can come from Singapore and it's very inexpensive. For the Americans, it's even less expensive because if you understand currencies, for $1 US, you get almost 5 ringgit. 5 is like $5 in Malaysian money. For Singapore, it's 1 Singapore dollar for almost 4 Malaysian dollars. Well, if you're taking $1 and turning it into 4, then or 5, then that makes things less expensive. And plus, the prices for things that you buy there are inexpensive as well. So, you know, we can go there. Even in Indonesia, of course, the prices are very inexpensive for food. We can go somewhere and eat a nice breakfast or a nice meal for $2 or $3. You know, now you check McDonald's prices, you can't get in the door there for less than $10, which is, you know, hard to believe, but anyway, that's the way it was. Anyway, here is some of the pictures from the Chinese Asian Bible Lectureship. Some of the brethren got there the night before. The ones on the right are from Taiwan. And then the ones way over on the left sitting next to Etta, their sisters from Malaysia. Then the sister here, oops, hit the wrong button, sorry. This sister here and her son, they're both from Hualien in Taiwan, but they've moved to Australia. So now they live in Australia, but they came over for the lectureship. This is the poster for the lectureship this year, the 16th annual from June 6th through the 8th. And it was held at the Ames Hotel in Malacca. And the theme was, Lord, teach us to pray. Qiu Ju Jiao Dao Woman Dao Gao, just in case you wanted to know what the Chinese sound like. And that's from Luke chapter 11, verses 1 through 11. I mentioned the place that we stayed. They have usually a hall. You know, they'll have weddings and stuff there. They'll have conferences there. So we're able to rent rooms reasonably and the hall as well that'll seat up to 250 people. So this is the first place we've had. Look at that screen. It looks like a movie theater. I told them, I can't believe the screen is so nice. We've never had a screen like that before in all of our lectureships. And so we were able to put our materials on the screen. This is when I was speaking on my topic, does God really answer prayer? And so on both sides, left and right, you can see me speaking. Now, this is one of our good friends in Malaysia. Her name is Janet Leong. Her and Kamwa have 2 daughters, and they both went to Texas State University to finish their degree. One stayed in America. She's now married, living in Bremen, Georgia. The other one went back to Malaysia and married Peter Chin's daughter. Peter's the director of the English Forces College in Singapore, and they all live in Malaysia. But this is Janet. Janet and I kid Janet because she's about 30 days older than me. And so I kid her about that. Ask her, how's it feel to be that age? Because in 30 days, I'll be that age too. So anyway, that was a picture of Janet. Now, the songbook, you can see the Chinese songbook. We have the hard copy songbook that people can look at, but we also have it up on the screen. So as we sang the song, you can see this one is Sweet Hour of Prayer. And so we were able to sing. We have about 100 in this book that we use, about 100 songs that we use during the lectureship. Here you can see the numbers of individuals who attended the Chinese Asian Bible lectureship this year. I think we've had the best turnout ever. Close to 200 were in attendance. And these are brethren from China, from Taiwan, from Singapore, from Malaysia. We had a brother come from the Philippines to attend, and then of course the United States as well. This is Eng Boon, one of the directors of the lectureship. He's an elder at the church in Klang Church of Christ in the KL area. He's also the preacher for the Chinese congregation. Again, I wanted to show you the picture of the scripture that you see here. Anybody guess what it is?
Matthew 11:6.
No, not Matthew. 11:6 is right.
Okay, all right.
No, not Luke.
Romans,
That's Mark.
No, it's Hebrew.
Hebrew.
Hebrews 11:6. 人非有信，就不能得神的喜悦，因为到神面前来的人，必须信有神，且信他赏赐那寻求他的人。But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. That's Hebrews 11:6. Okay, this is Brother Wong, one of our preachers in Taiwan. Brother Wong lives in Hualien. Brother Wong and I are the same age as well. And Brother Wong is a great asset to the work in Hualien. Sometimes when I do a Taiwan report, I'll talk about all the things he does. One of the things he does is he goes to the local assisted living home, and there's a congregation there. It's twice the size of the congregation that meets in the building. And the average age of the members is 85. We've had members as old as 104 in the assisted living home there. And so Brother Wong works with them as well as the congregation there in town. In addition to the lessons that we had each day, we had Q&A sessions. And so the speakers that spoke that particular session, that particular day, then they would come back up and people could ask questions from the audience. What we try to do is when we have the Q&A is try to get people to ask questions about the lessons that were presented, not just on anything, but to present questions on the lessons that were delivered. That's Brother Eng Boon serving as the moderator for the Q&A. Here's a picture of many of those who attended the lectureship. This picture was taken on Friday, so some of the people that came on Saturday were not in this picture, but you can see it was a good group that came to participate in this year's lectureship. Okay, we'll move on to Subang Jaya. Subang Jaya, here are some of the ladies. This is from the English worship service on Sunday morning, and there are a number of good workers in this group. There are some, of course, that were not there because of vacation and traveling. On Sunday afternoon, we had the Chinese worship. And so I preached Bible study and worship. So I did the lesson in the Bible class for the Chinese congregation and then did the worship after that. And of course, I use PowerPoint for all of those things. And generally speaking, when I do my lessons overseas, my PowerPoint's bilingual, both in English and Chinese. Now, there are more than one reason why I do that. One reason is my first language is English. So once in a while, I can look at the English in case I can't figure out what the Chinese says. And that happens once in a while. And then even though I can't read that Chinese, I know what it says, and so I can say something that gets the message across. Secondly, in Singapore and Malaysia, there are a number of Chinese-speaking people. They are ethnic Chinese but they are English educated. And so because they're English educated, they have not learned how to read and write the Chinese language. And so even though they understand what I'm saying, they can't read the characters. And so I put the English on there so that they can see the English because they're English educated, and so they can read what is being said. Okay, section 17 was a Sunday night service. It's every Sunday night at 6 p.m. They have an English service in the morning, but I went to the Sunday night service and I preach at this congregation online on Zoom every second Sunday of the month. So first Sunday of the month, I'm in Taiwan. Second Sunday of the month, I'm in Malaysia preaching, both in Chinese. Tuesday night, Subang Jaya has a Bible class in Chinese. I participate in that. Wednesday night, the in Devo, that's in English. And so several times during the week, I'm involved in either English or Chinese classes or worship that are taking place in various parts of the country. Now, as I mentioned, starting August 1st, which I think is coming up real soon, I think it's this Friday, maybe. Anyway, real soon, I'm going to start teaching again in Four Seas College Chinese department. And I'm teaching the epistles of Peter, John, and Jude. Now, how'd you like to have 13 weeks to teach all those letters? That's not much time. And plus, I have PowerPoint for all the lessons. And so far, I have 600 PowerPoint slides for 13, because they're all bilingual. So, it takes more space to get all that on. And I don't know how I'm going to cover all that material in 13 weeks. Okay, this is a note the church at section 17 sent me. Thank you for preaching the word. 感谢你传播神的话语. And this is from the section 17 congregation. Here I am speaking at the section 17 congregation there in Malaysia. Some of you may remember Charlie and Mary De Palma. Charlie is a graduate of Southwest, and they worked with World Video Bible School, members at Buda Kyle for a number of years. And Charlie and Mary, they are in Melbourne. And so even though I did not get to see them in Melbourne because I was online, they used to work with this congregation at section 17. Mary's health is very bad. She has very serious asthma. And Charlie has several kinds of health problems as well. So keep them in your prayers as they continue. They've been working in Melbourne now for 12 years, continuing to work with the brethren there. Okay, thank you, sir. That's a slide a brother sent me. That says, Ilu Shun Fong. If I said bon voyage, would you know what I said? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what that said.
That's in
Oh.
French.
No, that's in Chinese.
Yeah. But
What I said was in French, bon voyage. But most Americans know bon voyage, don't we? Most of us, okay. All right. Upcoming teaching at Four Seas College, I mentioned from August 1st to September 20th, the epistles of Peter, John, and Jude. Now, here's an example of my PowerPoint notes that I'm doing, and this is from the epistles of John. So, 约翰书信, 约翰一书, 基本的大纲 basic outline. Then you got the introduction, 关于黑暗, then 怎么知道认识人, and then 写书信的目的 at the end there. So you can just see, this is just one of the hundreds of PowerPoint slides I have. So I go through this in class, and I don't have any hard copy notes. These are the only notes I have. So if I lose these, I'm in big trouble. And so are they, because they won't have the notes that they need for their test. Anyway, that's what I'll be doing coming up later this week. Now, have you ever seen a Segway like this? I've never seen this in the United States. Look where the Segway it's at their knees. And they drive that thing all over the place in the airport. You can see the guy driving it on the right. Back up here a second. You see him sitting over here on the left. I tried to mention that to my son. He's a flight attendant for Frontier Airlines. He said, I've never seen anything like that. So I took that picture so I could show him that, you know, that's what they do. And they go all over the airport, on that, I don't know, half Segway or whatever it's called. I don't know exactly what it's called. Now, we spent a day or two in Jakarta after we got back from Malaysia because our daughter was there with her husband, Jessica. Jessica and Krishna are going to UK in September. And Krishna is going to be studying his master's in IT at the University College of London, University College of London, and they'll be there a year. So if we go to Italy, then we're going to make a side trip to the UK so that we can see them where they're studying in England. But we were in the oldest mall, one of the oldest malls in Indonesia, in Jakarta, the capital. And you can't see it. I know the print's too small, but it says the first escalator in Indonesia, 1966. Now you can see it's right here in the middle. On the left and the right, the new escalators, they're quite a bit wider. You can see how narrow is that escalator that they used to use in Indonesia. Okay, I lost my connection. There we go. Okay. This is Jessica and Krishna on the left. They both work for the finance ministry of the federal government in Indonesia. And Jessica works in the accounting. Yeah, it's raining, I know. In the accounting department, and Krishna's in IT. So right now he's in Jakarta and she's in Lampung where we live. But they'll be going to UK in September. Now, our other daughter, Jovita, is here with us. And Jojo just graduated from Southwest School of Bible Studies. And I won't tell you what her grades were because they were all A's. But anyway, she is going to work with World Video Bible School. Of course, her first language is Indonesian, but her English is excellent. So she's going to take some of the videos, the English videos at World Video Bible School, and she's going to put Indonesian subtitles on, so that people in Indonesia will be able to go to the internet and get an English lesson, but it'll have the Indonesian subtitles so that they're able to read it. And that'll be a great assistance in the work. On the right is Ed and I, along with Krishna and Jessica, at one of our favorite Western restaurants in Lampung. Okay. See, it works. Okay. Now I mentioned the noodles. On the right, that's in the market. On the right, that's in the fresh market. You see the noodles there, ladies putting them in a bag. And in front, you see the tofu that's in the water. And there are many other things there. On the left is one of our favorite breakfast meals. Now, it's not what you see being done on the right, but it could be the same noodles. I mean, similar kind of noodles. This is a noodle dish that we get, and I think it's about, is it less than $2 or is it more than $2 now for the noodles?
24,000.
Yeah, less than $2 for that plate of noodles. And then up above it is fried wonton. And we get fried wonton with the noodles. It's not healthy. I know. It's not healthy. But it is so good. And both of us can eat a meal for less than $5, you know, with all that in it. And so once in a while, usually on a Saturday morning, we'll order this for our breakfast, and they'll deliver it as well. You can get McDonald's there and they'll deliver anything in Indonesia. And once in a while we get McDonald's and have it delivered on Saturday morning, even though the restaurant's less than a mile from our house. Okay. Now these are different spices. Okay. These are different spices. And you see the real red one over on the left. That is hot sauce. And so, yeah.
Our class time is up.
Okay, you're going to have to give me 2 more minutes.
You got it.
Okay.
You take all you need.
Okay, because
Just want to let you know.
we don't need 15 minutes between Bible classes.
Enjoying it. This-
So how can you help? Well, We solicit your prayers. Our work is dependent upon contributions. Sometimes people can't give every month, but they can give one time. We have regular monthly contributions. We're always looking for more supporters. And then, of course, tell others about our work. Now, most of you got a mission report, hard copy. And here are some useful websites, but look down at the bottom. On your hard copy on the back page, down on the right back side, down near the bottom, you see the Grubb mission reports, and it says grubbmissionwork.blogspot.com. You can go to that website and read all of my newsletters back to about 2011. I put out a monthly report, 12 months a year. And so you can go back to 2011 and see all the different reports that I've made through the years. But note some of the useful websites, WVBS, you know, GBN TV, you may know as well. IBT Ministries is a work that produces online Bible correspondence courses, and Ron Gilbert is involved in this work. They're also involved in lots of work that they do in Africa. OABS, I think probably you're familiar with the Online Academy of Bible Studies. And you may not be familiar with WSOJ.net. WSOJ is an online radio station out of McMinnville, Tennessee. And on that site, if you go there, there are hundreds of different speakers preaching sermons like N.B. Hardeman, Foy Wallace Jr., Marshall Keeble, B.C. Goodpath. Now, when's the last time you heard those guys speak?
Yeah.
Been a while, hadn't it? You can even hear a guy named John Grubb on that side. So, you know, I mean, if you're really desperate, you can go on there and hear him. Okay. Move me one more. I think that's the last one. That's the last slide, Jim? Yeah, that's the last one. Oh, here it is. Any contribution can be sent to the Grubb Mission Fund, 501 Shirts Parkway, Shirts, Texas. And that's in the report as well. Now, we don't have time for questions, but after services this morning, after worship, you have questions, write them down now so you don't forget them. And I'll be happy to answer those questions. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
You're ready for our worship time, so we have about 10 minutes.